I'm Lacey Kendall, and this is Education Insight. Today we're taking a look at an organization that we've all known since we were young. Originally called the National Congress of Mothers. This 125-year-old organization has been a part of every important conversation in our local schools and has been fighting for kids for a very long time. A look at the PTA in the Inland Empire in just a moment. But first, a look at what the Inland Empire is talking about this week in education. Curtis Middle School in the San Bernardino City Unified School District recently became the first middle school in the Inland Empire, second in the entire state, to earn gold certification from the Linked Learning Alliance for its Linked Learning Pathway. Linked learning is an educational approach that combines academics with career and technical education. At Curtis Middle School, students are gaining the prerequisite industry skills in machining and manufacturing to seamlessly transition to Indian Springs High School's Silver Certified Machining Program. There, students can become certified operators of computer numerically controlled mills and lathes, often leading to gainful employment opportunities upon graduation. The Linked Learning Alliance is a California coalition of educators, employers, and community organizations, all committed to improving education outcomes. Gold certification represents the highest quality standard for creating career pathways. For 125 years, the PTA, or Parent-Teacher Association, has been focused on building family engagement in education, advocating for policies that support students' well-being, and ensuring equitable access to quality education. Here in the Inland Empire, after all these years, parents and teachers still have meetings in the cafeteria, but also on Zoom. There are still cakewalks, but they're also fighting for improved funding for our schools and student mental health programs. On the phone with us is Becca Marks-Anderson. She is the Executive Vice President of the PTA District 23. First of all, Becca, where is District 23?
So it's actually Becca Marks-Anderson, and 23rd District PTA covers all of Riverside County.
Okay.
So we go all the way to the state line for Arizona. We go all the way up to Orange. We go all the way up to San Bernardino County and all the way down to San Diego County.
Ooh, that's a big area.
It is.
So tell me, what is the PTA all about in 2024? And what's your role as director? And I say, what's it like today? Because I think all of our listeners remember the PTA from when they were a child, maybe attending meetings with their parents. The meetings involved a cakewalk or a blue ribbon volunteer mom or teacher. And I am so interested to hear where the PTA is today.
I don't know that we've evolved past that entirely because we still have those things. But we've also looked at all the possibilities that we have in front of us and the ways that we can reach kids. PTA is over 127 years old. We started in 1897. And in 1897, that was 2,000 parents and teachers coming together to say, kids deserve better. And as long as you have people coming together to say kids deserve better, you're going to have PTA. So you still have PTAs at the individual school site levels. Those are called unit PTAs. And those are our boots on the ground parent and family engagement leaders. They're the ones who are planning our bake sales or our fall festivals or our trunk or treats or whatever it is that we're doing to make magic for kids. Sometimes you have a PTA at a school district level. That's usually called a council. And they're there as a supervisory support or to help make sure that everyone has the information they need to be successful.
Okay.
And then above that council, you have PTA that covers a geographic region, and it's called a district. And that confuses people sometimes because we have no actual affiliation with a school district. We cover all 23 school districts in Riverside County.
Obviously, times have changed over the years, and the problems and issues that the PTA addresses will have changed as well. What would you say is the most notable thing that people would be surprised about hearing that the PTA is doing now?
I think really when we're looking at what PTA is doing or isn't doing, it's really the most surprising thing is how multifaceted it is and it can be. Because, for example, we work with Riverside County, we work with the Riverside County Office of Education, we work with 225 plus PTAs and PTSAs in Riverside County. And every single one of those schools and every single one of those site affiliate organizations is different. Yeah. The families they serve, the things that they do, the needs that they are representing. And COVID really threw that into sharp relief for a lot of what we do. Everything changes. We all know that everything changes. And obviously PTA is no different. We wouldn't have been around for 127 years if we didn't evolve with the times. I don't know that, for example, the biggest shift is really aggregate versus how we've seen people have to pivot to reach families where they are in new ways post 2020 and everything shutting down.
Yeah. You talked about the district a minute ago. At the district level, what are the biggest challenges that PTA in all of the smaller arms that your district oversees, what is the biggest challenge that universally they're facing and that they deal with on a weekly basis?
Honestly, outreach, personalities, communication, and I think those are universal for everybody when you're dealing with people, because people are our business. And whenever you have people who feel passionate about something all in a room, you have a lot of perspectives and a lot of lived experiences that are all trying to do the best they can for their kids and the kids around them. And when you feel passionate about something and you are really passionately defending that piece, it is really easy to think that your way is the only way. And the very nature of what we do is collaborative, and it has to be. And sometimes redirecting everybody to remind everyone in the room that we're all here for the same reason. And that is always to benefit the kids.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
So how has parent and teacher involvement changed over the years?
If we come back to that change is inevitable piece, you definitely set in terms of family involvement. You have to. Because as times change, we see volunteer attrition as a whole, because inflation, higher cost of living means more incomes needed to support a family. You have more two-income family households than maybe you did a generation or two ago. And so people and teachers and staff have to get inventive sometimes in terms of how meetings are going to work. So the idea that a PTA meeting is going to happen right after school isn't always viable for a school site. Sometimes they need to happen in the evening. Sometimes they need to happen over Zoom. What we are seeing is a much larger mix of working family members, stay-at-home caregivers, and everything in between. And that varies so much from site to site, because we will have sites where there are robust groups of family members and community members coming together, and they have huge numbers that they are coming forward with as volunteers or with their planning teams. And then we have others where they are tiny but mighty, and they're still making magic happen.
If you just joined us, you're listening to Education Insight, discussing today's PTA. And we're joined by Becca Marks-Anderson. She is the Executive Vice President of District 23, which is much of our region here in Riverside and San Bernardino County. So, Becca, in what ways have you seen the association adapt to changes in technology and communication? Because those have certainly taken the issues that our teachers and our parents are dealing with to a whole different area. Tell me your thoughts on that.
So that's actually a really great question just because it's really appropriate. I mentioned COVID earlier and that need to transition in terms of technological awareness and technological execution and how we're looking at how we reach our families. And I've seen things I've never thought I would see as a result of what we needed to do to reach kids during that time. Because children didn't need to stop being supported because they were home. They didn't stop needing that support. They needed just as much support, if not more.
Yeah.
The question was how to reach them. And necessity is the mother of invention, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I've seen science nights happen online with exceptional amounts of engagement where things have been packed up and sent home with kids, or hey, come pick this up and be socially distanced. I've seen movie night events that have scavenger hunts associated with them that it's all done virtually. I've seen after school pickups and after school science clubs. I've seen reimagined trunk or treat events. And all of those things that caution, that inventiveness, that willingness to innovate and make something better. I've really seen that blossom in terms of technology and communication in the last 4 years or so, because it's really been needed. And prior to 2020, I would never have thought that we would see things shift so much so fast the way that we have. Because again, we're all volunteers. And so it's a little bit different. That landscape of what we're looking at in terms of who steps forward is a little bit different than if you are looking for employees, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so when we're looking at what we do and what we see at the 23rd District level, when we're providing those support and services to the whole of Riverside County, we've seen entire programs shift to entirely virtual landscapes. We now provide instruction and support on whether events are going to be in person or virtual or hybrid. We have entire programs that exist in a hybrid space that go all the way from the individual school site all the way to the national PTA level, where we used to have to send big boxes of things for judging for the Reflections program, which is an arts program that's facilitated by National PTA that's more than 50 years old, by the way. And we would send boxes for judging to the next level, and there would be postage involved or trying to coordinate with people to drop off big boxes full of stuff. Now it's, we're going to scan it, we're going to upload it, here's the Google form for it. And it's simpler and both more complex at the same time. It gives us access to people in a way that we maybe didn't have before. We were still figuring out. But as these things have become part of our landscape, we're also dealing with the fatigue from it.
Yes.
So it's a balancing act.
The PTA helps both the parents and you offer help to teachers. But my question is, what happens when, as we've seen over the last few years happening more and more, teachers sometimes disagree with parents and parents with teachers? Does the PTA lean in to help resolve issues when that happens?
One of the beautiful things about PTA is that its roots are in child advocacy. 1897, 2000 teachers, parents came together to say kids deserve better. And anytime you have a large group of people who all feel passionately about something, like I said before, you're going to get a lot of opinions on what the best thing is. One of the things about PTA is that no one person makes a decision. There are studies done, there are voting processes in play, so that if a position is going to be taken, there's a general vote regarding what that position is going to be. We build to directly benefit kids. We can't do this as PTA without the support and involvement of our teachers, of our administrators, because it's everybody coming together. And we say a lot of the time, our staff, our teachers, our administrators, they have 17 places to put every minute. And it's true. They have so many things they're trying to make happen on a daily basis. I cannot even begin to imagine everything that they have to handle. But they also have key insight as to what students need in a way that we don't. And we see our kids And we see students in a capacity that they might not, because we see them outside of the school day.
Yeah.
And so when we're bringing everybody together, whatever those things are that we're talking about that are contentious issues, and there are many, we all know, sometimes part of the support that we provide is guiding that conversation and making factual decisions and how that decision-making process actually works. Because when we're talking about whether PTA supports something as a whole, that's PTA as a whole. That's not one individual representing PTA. And it always needs to be about the kids and what the kids need. Mm-hmm. As an advocacy organization, National PTA and California State PTA do take advocacy positions. There are support positions they take on certain on certain measures, with the intention of ensuring that every child has what they need to be successful. That's what we do. Every child, one voice.
Gotcha. More of our discussion with Becca Marks-Anderson in just a moment. This is Education Insight. This is Education Insight, and we're joined by Becca Marks-Anderson discussing today's PTA. She is the Executive Vice President of District 23, which is much of our region here in Riverside and San Bernardino County. So, Becca, how does the PTA help when addressing diversity and inclusion today compared to maybe 30 or 40 years ago?
So, I would love to tell you that I have experience with what things looked like 30 or 40 years ago. I don't, unfortunately. That was
I'm
before my time.
I'm the only old one in the room. Go ahead.
I'm sorry about that. I wasn't alive then. But I can say that we've talked a lot about change and that evolution of our processes, our programming, or the things that we see. And I think as we come forward, we say we are every child with one voice. Every child with one voice, that means something. And when we're looking at diversity and inclusion, it isn't a single pat, put it in a box answer. It's looking at our processes, it's looking at ourselves. It's critically looking at the ways that we are designing and incorporating programs for students to make sure that we're seeing them for who they are and where they are, and recognizing their experiences, their lived experiences to that point. And part of that is making a concerted effort to ensure that our individual PTAs represent the populations that they serve, whether that's a greater emphasis on developing Spanish or multiple language resources for leaders, which is desperately needed. I know that I've worked really hard at the 23rd District level to help ensure that we provide Spanish language resources to our families who need it. Because when you're coming to the table, you should be able to speak and be heard without having to go through another party. Your voice matters just as much as anyone else's, whether that is coming to the table speaking Spanish or American Sign Language or any other language. And we try really hard to make sure that we recognize that everybody is coming from a different place, so that we can share and make sure that everybody knows that they are valued, because that then shows our kiddos that they're valued, that they matter, every single one.
Becca, could you share some examples of initiatives and programs that the PTA has launched recently?
For 23rd District, we have a Spanish language training and support system that we've been building, where we offer positional and financial training in Spanish to our leaders who need it. So it's a direct one-to-one support system where leaders can reach out and get Spanish language support in a way that they feel safe and heard. We have also worked on providing free and low-cost programs. There's been more of an effort I mentioned before that we're looking at whether programs are going to be in-person or virtual or hybrid, trying to be respectful of those options, and also giving our new leaders who are coming in things like programs in a box, so that if they're coming to the stage new, not every parent is coming to the table and saying, oh, I know what PTA is. Let me get involved. Let me plan a fall festival right now. If that is how you are, fantastic. PTA will love to have you. But personally, I did not come into PTA like that. I didn't know what PTA was when I suddenly ended up elected to an office. I now know that you have to consent to be elected to office. I did not know that then. So when we're looking at how we can help and support, how we can bring people in, we're changing that model to recognize our family engagement leaders exactly where they're coming in from. Whether that's, hey, you just want to do something good, great. We have programs in a box for you. Hey, you need bilingual language support or you need Spanish language support, great, let's get that for you. We're trying for more flexibility while also making sure that everyone is aware that it's not a PTA thing, it's a 501c3 nonprofit thing. And the importance behind that as we look at that, because you have power in the work that you can do together collectively. We have to look at our possibilities.
I like that you mentioned looking at your possibilities. So let me ask you, what role does a PTA play in actually influencing our educational policies or our school administrations today? Are you seeing the PTA experience success at those levels?
So really, when we're looking at how PTA plays into influence or school administration, every single PTA is going to have a different role in terms of how that plays out at the individual site. At the 23rd District level, we collaborate actively with Riverside County Office of Education. I specifically am the Riverside County Office of Education liaison. So I work with the Riverside County Office of Education on behalf of PTA. We help discuss and plan and execute family engagement initiatives or programs. We bring leaders in. We collaborate with the Policy Council for Head Start because we help bring that perspective of what family engagement needs to be supported. We also help bring that awareness of the fact that families are in fact entitled to engage and be engaged in their child's education. And so when we're looking at that in terms of influencing that policy or school administration, it's how can we help ensure that families know and understand what they are entitled to do on behalf of their child. And some of that is making sure that we are bringing information back from conferences or activities that we participate in and sharing that with leaders. Some of that is inviting those leaders to participate with us, to hear their voices as they come to the table and say, hey, this is what I need. Oh, well, you are entitled to that. Let's talk about that. Or smoothing the way in places where maybe it hasn't been as collaborative as it could be. Because again, we have lots of folks who feel a lot of different ways about things. And sometimes we just all need to be redirected to see what matters.
Becca, as the executive vice president of the PTA for such a large district, and considering the fact that a few minutes ago you said you just kind of got pulled into this in the beginning, in your time and all of your experiences at the district that you've seen with PTA in the Inland Empire, how would you like to see it evolve in the coming decade?
That is such a great question. And it's got so many facets to it as to what I would like to see. I would like to see more parents understand exactly the influence they have, both in terms of engaging with their site and engaging with administration and teachers and how they pass that on to their kiddos. Because when we look at what PTA does, it isn't just, oh, my mom showed up for the bake sale or my mom was the executive vice president. It's that you're showing your kiddos how important helping others is. And I think we really need to see that. And we need to see what that looks like in practical execution. We don't always see. And I would love to see that expand and encompass on more than what we do now, where we're just in the beginning stages of building these supports to bring in family engagement leaders from wherever they are. And I spoke earlier about the Spanish language training or our sensory friendly events where folks make sure that they incorporate some sensory friendly time for kiddos who may need some supports in that arena. I would like to see that be more of our standard versus that being a thing that we're lauded for.
An everyday thing.
Right. Because PTA is every child, one voice. And I've said that a couple times throughout this. We are every child, one voice. And that means every child who comes to the table is valued and supported and loved. You step up for PTA because you love your kiddo, because you want the best for your kids. And you absolutely should. That's what being a good parent is all about.
Mm-hmm.
And then as you get involved, you see all the lives you touch and the good you can do in the magic.
And there is a lady that's doing exactly that. Becca Marks-Anderson.
Thank you.
Executive Vice President of the PTA for District 23, which, as she explained, is the better part of the Inland Empire. Am I right?
Yes.
Thanks for taking our call today and helping us to understand better the PTA.
You are very, very welcome. Thank you.
Years ago, they used to say that colleges and universities were a man's place. Today, classrooms are often made up of mostly female students, while fewer and fewer men are enrolling. What could be causing this? Ernie Rios of the Gents Alliance helps men achieve their academic goals and has the answer to that question. We'll speak with him next week. So join us for Education Insight. I'm Lacey Kendall. Have a great week.
Education Insight is produced in partnership with KVCR San Bernardino.
Our executive producer is Jacob Poor.
And our production engineer is Tyler Veazey.
Alyssa Silva is our production assistant.
And Lacey Kendall is your host. Support is provided by College Futures Foundation.
Growing Inland Achievement. Working together for inland education and economic success.
Join us again next week for Education Insight.